excited to be hanging with you guys this morning. We're going to get ready to have some fun. Today is going to be kind of a play day situation. You know that when we do these lives, sometimes it's a complete project base, sometimes it's all about just teaching fun new techniques. And so today is going to be, good morning. Today is definitely going to be a play day where we learn all about using masks. And no, not the Halloween ones, not the emotional ones that we use so we don't have to deal with our feelings, none of those kind of things. We're going to be talking about different kinds of masks that you can use to create your gel press prints. So I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. I don't know about you guys, but it was an exhausting weekend for us. We had a soccer tournament, our first of the season for my oldest. I'm going to give people just a few minutes to get kind of in and get situated. If you want to play along, we've got just any gel press plate that you happen to have. This one happens to be the 8x10, just so it's easier for you guys to see. And then we're going to be using some cardstock. And then we're also going to be using some just previous gel press prints that I already have. And you're going to see why here in just a few minutes of why we are using those. So I've kind of done a little prep. You guys be proud. I have an outline and everything for what we're doing today. It's an amazing Monday miracle. So I hope you guys all had an amazing weekend and got to do cool, fun stuff, or just rest if that was your idea of fun too. I wouldn't be mad at that. So I've got, this is kind of crazy, I know. So this is my stash of prints just from different lives, different projects I've done, trade shows. I'm kind of a little bit of a hoarder. Good morning. And so we're going to be using these just kind of as our backgrounds because we're going to be working with a technique that's called masking. And we get this a lot, that what exactly is the difference between a mask, which is something like this, and a stencil, which is something like this. So the main difference is with your stencil, your open space is your design. So if I was using this particular stencil, whatever I did would end up with this as the design that I'm going for. With a mask, you are actually trying to protect something that already exists. So if I'm using this, I'm wanting basically the negative space of this to become my image. So it's actually, they almost work in tandem. They're basically opposites. So your stencil, your negative space is your design. Your mask, yes, it's a positive and negative. Your mask, your negative space, your positive space, which is the plasticky part, is going to be your design. Both are super fun. Both are great to use for your gel press printing. But it's a technique that we haven't really discussed, and it's one that's super great. And we're going to be working today actually with a few different things. I've got some store-bought ones that are from the Crafters Workshop. I also have some natural masks. So I went and picked these actually off of a plant in my front yard before I came in here and started. We're also going to play with some that I cut out of cardstock using my die cut machine. And then we're also just going to play with kind of some free form hand cut, because I really want to show you guys that there's just a wide variety and that there's options and you don't have to spend a lot on them. Yes, these are fun and they're kind of intricate and cool, but I mean, I can't guarantee how much these are. I think they're anywhere from like $3 to $5 or $6 a piece, and that can really add up after a while. So I thought it would be fun to show you guys just varying ways that you can make your own masks and really personalize what you're doing. And so, and just for speed and to kind of play with some of the stuff, this is always, hi Erin. This is also a great thing to do if you've got a stack of gel press prints that you haven't thrown them away, but you're not loving them. Using a mask is a great way to basically reuse them and turn them into something different. So I think this is going to be a super fun technique. I've got my little pile going on. All right, so let's start with the store-bought ones. If you're playing along, I've got my 8x10 gel press plate, but of course you can use any gel press plate you'd like to. And then we're just gonna be playing with just plain old acrylic paints today since we're kind of in a play time. I also have some extra cardstock in case I decide to do something different. So let's get to playing. So we're going to start with kind of what would be, I don't know, easiest is the right word? Is that the right word? But kind of the traditional, I guess, might be the correct word. What most people think of when they think of masks, and that is going to be something plastic like these that are from the Crafter's Workshop. And so we're just going to do kind of a blue and give it just a nice little brayer and cover our entire surface. And I didn't overwork it so you can still see the two colors. Right, I love Mary Lynn. Your prints could be one more layer away from being perfect. What's funny is there's a lady I used to work with in the industry, and her point of view always was, if you didn't put enough, if you don't like it, it just means you haven't put enough on it yet. So I mean, if you don't like a gel press print, throw one more layer on it. So we're literally just going to take our little butterflies. I happen to have two, so we're just going to kind of set both of those in there. And then I'm going to grab, let's see, that's blue. So let's grab, see if I have a yellow print that might look cool. And like I said, this is a great use for those times where you've been practicing your gel press techniques and kind of found stuff that you liked, you didn't like. Don't throw those away. They can always be revived into something else. Let's see what this does. So this is a print that I was doing, that I was attempting to do a photo transfer. So you can see we've got her little ghosty face there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to lay those on top and kind of make a sandwich between our plate and our stencil. And you want to just give it just a nice little rub. And because of that, hey, whose birthday is it? Oh, it's somebody's birthday. Diana just said it's somebody's birthday. Do we need to sing happy birthday? Okay, squirrel. So of course, with the way the gel press plates are made, you've got that, the fancy word is durometer, but it basically just means you've got that squishability, how it releases. Here, I'll grab one and kind of do the squish test. How it has that give to be able to do this. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow, when we do that press, it's going to allow the plate to kind of come up in between our stencil and allow it to act as a mask or a barrier between our paint and our other print and leave that image on there. Ooh, so you can see now I have those really beautiful dark blue butterflies as my background. Happy birthday to Amber! Yay! And the cool thing is so I've got that, and then I kind of have some opportunities for some really cool ghost prints. So I could either leave them there and do it, or let's go ahead and pop those off. And you can see because of how it's done, just clean these off right here. I've got this really cool situation going on. So let's grab another print. Let's see. This is also, just a note, a really great use for your brayer, like your clean off prints. Ooh. I don't know what this is from, but it's pretty. So I've got this one that's kind of a bright coral and purple kind of color. So let's just add that on top. So not only are we cleaning our plate, but we're also using that ghost print of our masked images to create texture and create visual interest. So give it just a nice little rubby rub. And look how cool that is. Gives you definitely a little bit more of a distressed kind of situation, but you can still see the butterflies. Or if you cut it up, you could still just have the images. Love that. So this was with the stencil in place. This was our negative kind of ghost image. Love. So you can see masks can do so many things just depending on how you put them in and how you layer them. So let's do something else. Let's do, move my butterfly here before I accidentally stick it to the page permanently. Been there, done that. All right, so let's go with a red. Let's see what this does. And of course, not cleaning my plate because it's going to end up adding just a little bit more visual interest and that little bit of grunge to it. So this one actually is magenta. So let's do, what colors do we want to do? Let's do magenta, and let's see what this does. You know, it's a play day. Let's do this iridescent green-blue. Add a little shimmer, friends. And so we're going to kind of just move that around. Clean it off just a little bit. And what's great is you can use your mask, but still incorporate those other techniques that we've always talked about. So we're going to throw this little guy on here. Plop. What else do I have? You know what, we're just going to leave him alone. So we're going to kind of press him down so he kind of sticks in there really good. And then I'm going to go in just for funsies, because, you know, why not? With just a little something, something to add a little bit more texture. And what's cool is if you have that stencil down, hey Jackie, you can actually use that texture all over. And because, again, because of the way the gel press plates are manufactured, it's going to squish up in between and be able to give you that texture even as it has our mask sitting there. So just for fun, I'm going to put this actually on a piece of plain white paper. I got a really bad glare from one of my lights and I can't figure out which one it is. So this is just cardstock, just for funsies. So we're going to set it down and we're going to give it that nice rub and allow the gel press plate to kind of press up through our little mask there. It's kind of a numbers thing, kind of a jumbled numbers thing. And what's great is if you want to take a little peeky, you just kind of pull it up, give it a look, and if you like it, keep peeling. If you don't, just push it right back down and continue giving it that rub. But I like the way this one's turned out. Super cool. Look at that. And because of, like I said, that squishability of the gel press plate, we're getting a nice crisp image around our stencil or our mask there. And you can see there's a little bit of shimmer. I am loving this one. This one's going to go in an art journal. Kind of wish I would have done it that way, but that's okay. But I'm loving that. And it's super simple as just paint, put your mask down, add some texture, and then lift your print. So now that we've got this, just for funsies, let's lift that with a print we already have. What's this one? What's this? So this one is kind of, it was an oopsie from something. So we're just gonna use this, waste not, want not. And of course you can do these techniques on any of your size gel press plates, whether it's the Faith Impressions border plates, the bigger ones, the smaller ones. Obviously you just scale your mask down to whatever size it needs to be. Well, that's super fun. So now we've got, look how cool that looks. We've got that jumble of numbers. I keep calling them letters. I don't let the paint dry between layers, mainly because I'm lazy, but no. Now these are prints, like this background is print that I've had for probably from a live from a few weeks ago. So that of course is dry, but the ones I'm doing live right now, nope, I'm just trucking right along. But I love that. You can see that little bit of shimmer in it from that Pebeo acrylic. And it's got this really cool marbleized kind of thing. I am loving that. That is so fun. Sorry, sometimes I have too much fun all on my own. Okay, what else can we play with? What else do I have? So let's do a couple more of, let's see, what do I want to do? You know what, let's go to our grass, our leafy situation here. So we're going to pick, let's just go kind of a white situation. So how do you keep the bright colors from blending? So I think this is just kind of my mindset. When you do your new colors, you just have to be very conscious of not over blending. Like I see a lot of people and they're just like all over, like all the little directions. I really like to be very conscious of going one direction and then only going the opposite direction the amount of times and in the spaces it takes to fill in wherever that first direction didn't get. Does that make sense? I see a lot of people just do this, and that's kind of how you end up with mud. Another thing that I try to steer clear of is any colors. So let's talk a little color theory real quick. So if you've got your color theory wheel, you know that there are certain colors when mixed together, they're going to make pretty colors. But if you look at a color wheel, anything that, like if this is your wheel, anything that is directly opposite it on your color wheel, which I'll throw one in the group today while we're talking about it. But if this is your color wheel, anything that's directly opposite it is going to turn into mud. So you don't want to use anything that's directly opposite. It's going to almost automatically turn into brown if you're not careful. So anytime I try to use things that if I do accidentally overwork them, it's going to still work out. Because I think everybody starts where they kind of make mud to begin with. Like this one was pink and blue. So I knew even if I overworked it, it was going to give me a purple and it wasn't going to turn into mud. Whereas if I would have used blue and orange, you have to be more careful with that because blue and orange are complementary colors, and when they mix, they almost automatically make brown. So, but having a little idea of the color theory aspect is super helpful. And so when I use colors like if I use an orange and a blue, I'm a little more cautious and maybe do it in 2 steps and make sure the colors are more dry in between so that I don't run that risk of turning into mud. And a lot of it is just playing in the beginning and figuring out your own technique. Like I said, that's kind of how I do it, is brayer one way and really only brayer the other way if just to fill in the gaps. And the main reason most people end up with mud, as we kind of call it, or everything turns brown and smooshy, is because you've overworked it on your plate. So just pull back your number of brayers and just be really conscious of how many times you're doing it. Give that a try, and I think it'll help. And just having a little bit of that color theory brain. Like I said, I'll throw a color wheel here in the group while we're later today. So just try keeping it in similar color families and try not to ever go directly across unless you are letting the paint dry in between. And that does help, especially in the beginning. And once you kind of get more used to it and get more used to your own technique, it'll be a lot easier to not do mud. I hope that made sense. I hope that totally made sense. If not, I'll figure it out. Okay, so let's play with our leaves. These are actually directly from a bush in my front yard. So it's super cool to be able to go out into nature and find things that you can turn into prints. And I mean, they're free. They're in your own backyard, so, or front yard, or side yard, or wherever your yard is. And I think that is super cool. And you can, because they're sturdy, you can reuse these leaves numerous times before they would start to disintegrate. And then you would just go and pick some new ones out from your front yard, I guess. Okay, so I just put a light layer of kind of a, what is this color called? Cool Bisque. So it's kind of a peachy ivory kind of color. And then we're going to, so we want to lay our leaves side down. So we're just going to layer, I've got 3. So we're going to kind of, I guess, layer them like this. I don't know. Let's see what we like. And then here's a baby one. I probably should put the baby one in the middle. My bad. All right, and then I'm going to go my little stash here. This one's kind of cool. So I think this is another, I don't remember what I was trying to do. But, you know, it's still cool in its own right. All right, and we're just going to lay that right on top. Now, because these are kind of chunkier, let's call them chunky, they're some thick little things compared to like a mask like these. They are going to require a little bit more pressure, but because, as long as you just make sure you don't, it's not like thorny or has any twigs sticking out of it, because you don't want anything sharp to poke your plate, because you don't want to like damage it. But just a nice little rub. So we won't ask Mary Lynn how she knows to shake off the bugs and the spiders. Ugh. Bless you. All right, so I've kind of given it some nice little, you know, massaging. And then again, give it a little peeky. Peel it up, see what you think. And if you think it needs more, put it back down. And if not, just peel it right up. And now this would be a cool time to, once this dries, go back in with a black or a white pen and draw in your leaves, make accent marks, all that kind of stuff. But you can see now that that print is isolated, it's definitely less abrasive. It even picked up some of the little pinks and blues that were still on my plate. So that's super fun. And then we're gonna pick up our little leafy guys here. And that'll kind of be a fun little, stampy situation. All right, so you can see again, because the paint was sandwiched in there and the leaves were kind of keeping it on our plate, now we've got a chance to do a ghost print with those leaf images. Oh, that would actually be kind of cool. So this was from a video I did where we were using I don't even know where it is right now. It's a wood tool, or a wood finishing tool, faux finishing tool. I don't know where it is right now. Oh, here it is. So it's this guy. If you haven't seen it, it's super fun. It's from Lowe's. But this was a video I did on using it on your gel press plate. And so I think this, with the wood and the leaves, I think this, in my brain, this is going to be really cool. If not, be what it be. Nothing I can do about it now. But what's fun is, I mean, you can look around your house and see what you have that you could use as a mask. String, like just taking string and kind of layering it on your plate, makes for some really cool and fun masks. Ooh, yes, look at that, guys. That looks cool. So you can see all the little, that turned out really great. You can see the vein, or the twigs, you can see the veins, you can see the branches that the leaves were on. I love that. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but that's gonna turn into something cool. Love, yay, that was exciting. Okay, so we've looked at some pre-made ones. We've looked at some God-made ones. So let's talk about making our own. So I actually just went on Canva. which is just like a free kind of, I guess you would call it, design program that you can use online, and just pick some random images that they happen to have and then cut them out with my Cricut. But you could also use your Big Shot, any of those kind of things. And I just cut them out in some cardstock. So just some fun little things, and of course got some leafies. And what's great is, since these they're not a super high cardstock, they're like a 110. So, but I should be able to use them at least a few times before they disintegrate and I have to kind of redo it. But let's be honest, I get bored of stuff. I have not tried this string pull technique, but it is super, super cool. It's been on my like to-do list for a while, but what they're able to get out of it is so cool. So there's a technique of using a string, and so you have it in there, put your, I guess you put your paper over it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Marilyn. You put your paper over it, but then as you pull the string out, you wiggle it back and forth, and it changes your print as it gets pulled out. Super, super cool. But I have not tried it yet. Do I even have any string? As I say that, I'm like, do I have any string in this room? You never know. All right, what color do I got? Red. No, let's do red and yellow. Let's try that, see what we got going on here. And again, I'm just leaving those little remnants of that white, because especially that white with these colors is going to add, oh, hey, I left a leaf on there. Boop-a-doop-boop. So again, kind of sticking in the same color family. Now we look like we're making either a little ketchup and mustard, or we are paying homage to McDonald's. This might have been a bad idea. Okay, give that a nice little clean off here. And then we're going to take our little squares I made and just kind of randomly drop them. Boop. And then if you need to, like these are kind of a little bowed, just take the end of like a paintbrush until it kind of grabs into the paint. That way, if you decide to add texture or add other things, you're not going to risk moving those around. All right, what else do I want to put on there? So let's grab, I'm looking around my desk seeing what I can use to add some. Are you hungry now? I did actually eat a little bit right before this. I kind of almost forgot to eat because that's just who I am. I forget, you know, necessary things like food. All right, let's see what I find. You know what? Let's use this little marker, and we'll use it just to kind of make some rando little dots, just to add some other texture, and do it kind of in between our little things. And you can also go online and find images to either cut from your Cricut or even just to hand cut out. And let's add one more little texture. What do I have? Trying not to stray too far so you guys can hear me when I talk. Let's see. Let's stick through here real quick. Oh, here we go. Here's some oldie but goodies foam stamps. Let's use those. This is one I've had for a really long time from, I think, Hobby Lobby or something. So we're just going to go in, give a nice little press, clean it off so we make sure so what we're doing by this is we're lifting the paint up, again, just to continue to add texture and some dimension to our project. And then let's go digging through our pile. And since we've got that red and yellow, we definitely want to do something contrasting. So I'm going to see what I can find that is more in like the blues and greens family in my stash. Oh, this one might be cool. So again, this is, I am in love with that wood wood thing. So I have a bunch of those from when I was kind of testing out, seeing how it would work. And all right, so we're just going to, but that bright blue I think will work really good with this one. Let me just give it, and of course, because you are just dealing with, yeah, that foam stamp is like super old. So actually I have a video on my YouTube channel from years ago on how to make your own foam stamps. So that's super fun too. So we're just gonna give it a nice little rubby rub. Let's see how we did. Ooh, that's fun. Look at that, guys. So this would be super cool to go back in and continue to add layers or continue to just leave it like it is. But because of how the images are, you get these nice, because how the cardstock, you get really great crisp images because it's laying so flat on your gel press plate. But look how that blue is popping, and you can, because we added those extra textures and lifted that paint, you can see our blue wood texture through it, and it's giving you dimension and it's giving you depth. So that one turned out cool. That's super fun. And of course, got a little something still here. So I'm actually gonna peel these guys up, and if you're gentle with them and then kind of set them aside to dry, actually they're kind of cool on their own. I mean, look at this. You kind of gel printed some die cuts that you could use for something else. I mean, or you could reuse them as another mask, but on their own, I mean, look how cool those look. Those would be great just to take some matte gel medium and put them in your Bible. Ooh, in fact, that might, okay, I might have to think about that. Sorry, squirrel. But I love that. Those are perfect to either reuse as masks, like I said, or use them as on their own as gel printed little thingies. That was fun. Okay, so in this instance, I am gonna give it a little wavy to kind of dry that a little bit better, because I do want to go in, and yeah, that's true. Maylin's like, just use them on the print. So you could take this and just kind of do a little situation like this. Boom. Look at that, friends. Okay, because I want to go back over it with another color. What color do I want to do, though? See, this is where I have to sit here and think in my brain. I've got this orange. Let's see what that'll do. See if it'll tone down the McDonald's-ness of it all. I'm going to turn kind of like a fire situation. So we're going to kind of clean that off. I'm going to move these little guys. And then because I do have that paint on there and I don't want to disturb it as much, I'm going to keep this really light. And really, we're just trying to fill in any gaps. That's our main goal. There we go. Clean my brayer off right here. And so this is a good thing about keeping those brayer clean off sheets, because using a mask on those are perfect for just kind of, like I say, I really like the way this little corner turned out. Awesome. Use a mask to kind of isolate it. Would be super cool. So we're going to take just a piece of plain cardstock and give it just a nice little rubby rub. Now, I know some people like to do the rubby rub. Some people like to take their brayer. It's also a good way to clean your brayer off, I guess, and kind of rub it on the back. And some people even have those, I can never remember exactly what the name is. I think they're called braziers, but they're kind of a disc attached to a little handle that gives you just a really nice smooth surface. But I don't have one of those. And I haven't bought one because the Speedball one is like 30 bucks or something ridiculous. So God gave me two hands. So we're just going to give the nice little rubby rub. All right, let's see what we got. Ooh, look at that, guys. That's cool. You can see we've got the red peeking through, the blue from the last one we did. We've got those images. So this might be another time. Baron, is that what it's called? Thank you. I was like, I couldn't remember what it's called. We could add these little guys back in there if we wanted to, just to kind of give a little pop. So that's super fun. And that was just with the leftover paint, so I think that's super cool. Okay, let's do one more. Let's use, so I also cut these like little leafy guys out. And so we're gonna just, I'm gonna kind of keep them where there's not as much paint, but I don't want to clean my plate off because I want to keep the grunginess going on. I am one of those people, I cannot make grunge happen intentionally. If you want to learn about making grunge happen intentionally on your gel press plate, the girly grunge herself is in this weekend, or this weekend? I don't know, sometime this week. And so she will be able to do that and show you how to be cool, because I'm not cool. Alright, so I'm going to go in with this turquoise color and just kind of smatter it around. And I'm just going to lightly press over those so that I get a good crispy image. And then I'm going to lift these little guys up. Whee! So those are little fun things. And what color do I want to use? Let's see what I've got back here. Like I said, this is definitely a great use for those random prints that you've done that you don't love. It's a great way to kind of give them an easy little makeover. Let's see. Dig through my stash. Dig through my stash. I like that one. I like that one. This is what happens too when you do a bunch of lives. You end up with like a nice little stash of just random stuff. Oh, that's a really good one. Let's see what this will do. I might not like this, but we're going to try it. So it's kind of a darker geometric thing. This is a really old print. Like this is from a gel press video I did, I'm going to say like 3+ years ago. Give that just a nice little rubby rub, see what it does. Ooh, look at that, guys. So it toned down that red, but still allowed that red to pop in where we had that mask. So here's what we can do. Now let's add our little guys back here and just see what other effects we can get. Because you don't have to stop just at one layer. You can continue just to add multiple layers. So this time I'm going to do something a little different. I'm actually going to take an extra gel press plate right over here and kind of use it as almost like a palette. Because I just want to add little bits of white. Oop. Stay down, friend. So giving it just some little bits of white here and there. I don't know if this is going to work, but this is why these are playtimes. Lift this little guy up. Oop, hit my camera. And then let's put this little guy back down and see what it does. I love playtime. Sometimes that's my creative release, is just sitting down and just playing with random stuff on my gel press plate. Ooh, that's cool. So it kind of is adding more of that distressed kind of look. But it still allows our reds to pop through here and there. Well, that one's super fun. So again, great opportunity to rescue what you might consider ugly, an ugly print. Okay, so far we have done store-bought, if you will, masks. We've done some of our, I lost them, some Jesus masks, so some natural ones. And then we've done some that we cut out with like a die cut machine. Of course, look how pretty these leaves are by themselves. I mean, those would be super cool to then use your masks. In fact, oh, how cool would this be? Sorry, I'm designing as I'm thinking. To put these two in the same project, like our little, that's pretty cool. That would make for a really cool something something. I don't know what yet, but that's probably going to end up in a Bible journaling thing now that it's done. Sorry, I'm squirreling. But I'm going to keep those safe because I want to use those. So it's almost like 2 birds with 1 stone. You get your cool print, and then you get like the bonus of having made these really cool gel printed elements that you can use in something else. So we've done all those. So now let's just do some fun free-form kind of things. So I'm just going to take my just cardstock, and we're just going to make some squigglies, almost like a wave kind of thing, I guess, or a, I don't know, sound wave, an ocean wave, squiggly lines. And then we're just gonna kind of, I'm not trying to do anything super fancy. I am gonna do one more thing though. Let's do that. So let's, before we stick those down, I'm gonna add just some little dimension to it with my Crop-A-Dile. Just add some little holes in there. Try not to get the little pieces everywhere, but you know, it's gonna happen. Of course, you could use just a regular hole punch if you don't have a Crop-A-Dile. I've had this one for a very long time. So just add some little pokey dots here and there. Do the same one to this one. I'm gonna try not to do the same pattern so I don't end up with just the same thing over and over. But this is a great use for stuff that you might already have, like cardstock, or even like some, if you're a previous scrapbooker like me and you have some scrapbook paper that you think is just really ugly, maybe you could cut a pattern out of it, like if it has a cool pattern, or you can use it for something like this, as kind of scrap paper. All right, so let's stick that little guy there, stick this little guy here, and let's just see what we can get out of this. And let's see, let's go back to this bright blue, and we're gonna do this, kind of go with the blue since it's a wave kind of situation going on. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a press when I go over those dots so that I make sure that paint kind of gets driven into them, so we get those little nice little polka dots in our waves. And of course you can see I didn't clean my plate, so we're going to end up with a little texture and color from that previous one. So now I could do one of two things. I could use a previous print that I already have and pull it up that way, or I'm going to lift these little guys. Super fun and satisfying. We're going to save those, and I'm going to let that just a little bit more dry, because what I'm going to do is actually add another color on top of it. I think since we're kind of rocking an ocean kind of theme, I think, what do I want to use? I think I'm going to add a little bit more texture. So I'm going to use just the cap from one of my paints. And by doing the texture now, and so you can see I'm taking the paint from one side and just kind of adding it into that negative space. So I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone. I'm lifting it from one area and adding it to another. And that really helps with your gel press prints to keep them feeling very harmonious, because it's allowing the color to kind of go back and forth. All right. And I'm not going to make it dry all the way. We're going to go in with this. So that color, the darker blue is Cayman blue, and then this one is called Patina. So it's kind of a muted aqua kind of color. And then we're just going to lightly brayer, because again, we're not trying to disturb that blue. We're just trying to, ooh, that would be a hole punch thing. We're just trying to, I've got hole punchy things stuck on everything, and it's leaving prints in my print. See, this is why I tried to be careful with those, and I still ended up getting them everywhere. We're just trying to fill in those little gaps. Oh, I just got hole punchies all over my brayer because I wasn't paying attention. That's going to be fun to peel off there later. I mean, that would be fun too, I guess. I guess you could add things to your brayer and then brayer kind of a rolling stamp situation. That would be fun. Okay, let's grab some just regular paper. These little hole punchy things I did are driving me crazy, yo. All right, let's give a nice little press. And we're going to end up with just a little bit of those accent colors that we left. And give it just that nice little rub. And if you need to, give it a little peeky peek. Yeah, I think we might be good. Ooh, love that. Look at that, guys. So by doing that little stamping and then stamping it over here, you can see it just really gives a nice kind of overall harmony to the entire print, because I've got some overlapping, so it makes it feel like it's one completed print instead of like stripe, 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 stripe. And then, of course, since I had cleaned my plate and we had those little bits of white and red, it adds these really great grungy accents. Another reason it's great if you're someone who doesn't want to be on the clean plate club, which I always say I'm a dirty girl, which is then really funny because I'm the Bible journaling person, which makes it even funnier. But if you're kind of just having playtime, alternate. Do cool colors one time, warm colors the next. So if you don't clean your plate in between, it really helps to add those pops of interest and those pops of grunginess. I am loving that. That is so fun. Let's do one more. Let's try a little play with these again. What do we want to do? All right, well, let's just follow my own advice. And let's throw these little guys on here. But I think this time I'm going to put them on there, and then I'm going to cut some other little things. Here we go. Actually, you know what? Let's try something different. We just did stripies. We don't want to do stripies again. Now we're just gonna cut some circles. I'm not even gonna think about it. We're just gonna cut some circles and plop them down and see what happens. Not the best circle cutter, so don't laugh. They kind of look more like eggs than circles. I'm not a super great, like, cutter person anyway. I think I don't know, sometimes it takes too long. Unless I'm doing something specific, like when I was on the Graphic 45 design team, I did a lot of fussy cutting. And I think because that, I was just going around someone else's design. Oh my gosh, I just got this hooked on my camera and just shook the heck out of it. This little guy wrapped around my camera cord and I went yoink. My bad. So you're probably going to give a little shaky shake. So let's do that. Let's add one more little bitty one. Okay. Well, that looks very much like domino, like a dice. So let's move those around so it's not as... Okay, now I need more. I need more! I have too much space. Baby one right there. I keep hitting my camera cord today. Sorry, it keeps looking like I'm in the middle of an earthquake. Which is funny because someone in one of our local groups said, did someone feel that? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I was asleep, so I didn't notice if the earth shook. All right, so we got those. Fun. And then let's see. So I have this really funky print that actually has a boo-boo. So we're going to just revitalize it and use it as kind of a background for this next one. It almost feels like it's like a blurred photo, which is kind of weird. It looks like my camera is blurry, but it really is just the print. So let's see. Let's do some yellow, I think. No, because if I do yellow with circles, it's going to look like cheese. And I don't want it to look like cheese. So let's go bold. Or dark. So we're going to do actually black and silver and see what that looks like. My dog ate this one. You can see the little twofer marks. Thank goodness he didn't get it open. I was like, oh. I don't know if he'll ever grow out of the chewy stage. He's a 1.5 old English bulldog. Doop doopy doo. So added some silver. And then we're going to go back in. This is just some plain black. And I think because of the color saturation in that print that we already have, I think it's going to add some really cool pop and dimension. And then we're going to just go in. And this is kind of where you decide, do you want them to mix a lot, mix a little? I kind of want it to turn almost like a gunmetal kind of thing. So I am going to give it some extra little swipies, making sure to press just a little bit over those circles we put down. All right, clean our brayer off. And then let's come in with this guy. Yes, it totally was it Magic Eye? That's totally what this reminds me of. I feel like if I stare at it long enough, it'll look like a zebra. Okay, so I think just gonna do that. I used to love Magic Eyes. Like, anybody else remember those? I remember having the books in high school. All right, so let's give that a nice little press so we get some nice crispy circles. Give it a little peeky peek. Oh, my circles. Ah! Well, that's... Somehow my black got underneath it. I must have pressed too hard or something. Well, that's interesting. Same with like glowy orby kind of things. That's interesting. Didn't mask as well as it should have. Well, there we go. So we still have nice little bubble textures. Well, that happened. All right, so let's take our ghost print and I have this guy. Let's see what he does. This was using a Lego print. A Lego block. Let's see what I can pull up from that. I love the metallic in that one though, especially with the circles. It gives it kind of like an outer space kind of situation. Give it a nice little rubby rub, see what we can get off of it with just the ghost print. Kind of just made it look dirty. You can see the circles here and there. So I've still got a little bit on there. So just for giggles, while I have you here, let's go in with this kind of color is this. This is called Vivid Violet. Give it some nice little, I think I might need more than that, but we'll start with that. because really I just kind of want to lift that little bit of paint that's left on there. Give it a nice little clean. And just for giggles, gonna go in with, oh, I have a stamp right here, we'll just use it. It's this kind of confetti stamp. Just give it some nice little stampy stamps for texture. Yeah, let's see what that did. Give it a nice little rub. There we go. Let's see what that pulls up. Ooh, that one's fun. And my plate is clean. Yay! That's super cool. So we've got the little splotches of blue. We've got our defined little circles. You've got a little bit of shimmer that was left from the silver. Well, that's just fun. Look at that. Okay, just for giggles, because I have you here and I've never actually used them with ink, I happen to have some archival ink right here. So let's just real quick, we have a few more minutes. Yes, Vivid Violet is one of my favorites. So just for giggles, this one's called Cactus Flower. We're gonna kind of dollop it on there and then do my best to, this one's called Vibrant Fuchsia. So I'm just gonna kind of dabby it here and there, and then I'm going to use my brayer to kind of move it around. This is just for fun because we're here and it's playtime and we have a few more minutes left. So kind of give that a little, I don't know how well this is going to work. I've never used ink like on with a stencil. So let's go back to our butterflies from earlier. Let's see what this does. Throw little butterflies on there. This is just a for funsies because we're here. We have the stuff. Let's see what this does. Give it that nice little press over our butterflies. Give it a little peeky. Ooh, that's fun. Okay, that was just for fun to see what it would do. So it gives it a really just soft, almost watercolor kind of effect. So let's try something. If I peel that up, peel this up, I don't know how much of butterfly is left on there. You can see it just a little bit, but let's add, this is Paradise Teal. And I'm gonna kind of add it around where I can see the butterfly because I don't want to lift it too much. Again, don't know if this is gonna work. So let's give it a nice little rub to blend it here and there. And then very lightly go over the actual butterfly. Let's see if that worked. I don't know. Like, it looks like absolutely nothing on screen. So these butterflies are actually masks from the Crafter's Workshop. Here, I'll show you guys the other. So these were the other masks that I used that are all from the Crafter's Workshop. So it's this really cool numbers one, and then these butterflies. So they're plastic, so they're reusable. Hey there, Jill Press. This is like a last ditch, just to see if it would work. Yeah, you can see the butterflies just a smidge, not a ton. Okay, that was just for funsies. Yes, thanks for throwing that link in there, Jill Press. Okay, so that is the fun of using masks. So those of you that are either just catching up or gonna watch the replay, I would highly recommend starting from the beginning where we discuss what the difference is between a stencil and a mask. And let's just for fun go through some of the images that we did today. And like we discussed earlier, this is a super fun way to use, maybe you went on a gel press print binge and you have a ton of them and don't know what to do with, or you have some that you don't love. So doing something like this, where you've got, where you're masking off parts of it, is a super fun way to kind of rescue and redeem those prints that maybe aren't your favorite, or some that you just flat out think are hideous. So this was our original print, and then with the leftover ghost image, we made this guy, which is awesome. And again, we kind of went through some options for you. We went through some store-bought ones, and Gel Press put that link in there. These are from the Crafters Workshop, which are super fun. Let me find the other ones we did with that one. So these are the other ones we did with store-bought stencils, which I'm loving this situation right here. I don't know what I'm going to turn it into, but it's great. And then this was using the ghost print, again, on a print that I had that I didn't love, but I didn't want to get rid of. And then we switched over from store-bought to what we're going to call God-made. And I went out in my front yard and picked these little guys. Love those. And then we played with those as well, using them first again as a mask on an ugly print, because then we could turn that into something with some cool outlining or some cool journaling and that kind of stuff. And then this one actually is one of my favorites. When we lifted it, because that gel plate receives the images and the texture so much, I was able to actually get the impression of the leaf down to the stem going down the middle, the veins going through the middle, and that's like the ghost print stuff that was left on. And it was really cool because I happen to have this print from a video I did for Gel Press about using a wood textured tool from Lowe's. And so I really like that juxtaposition of the wood grain in the background and then the kind of softer muted leaves. No print is ugly. All right. So we kind of chatted about store-bought. We chatted about found objects. We'll call it that. Nature objects, God objects. And then we had some fun with some prints with some images that I print using, or cut using my Cricut. And we kind of came off a cool little thing that we could obviously use them in our masking technique, which I love that pop of blue coming through this one. And then of course our ghost print there. But then we're also left with these really, really cool gel printed die cuts. So we could either reuse these as as masks, or we could really just use these on their own because they're just now gel printed little die cuts. I think that is great. In fact, this is probably going to end up in a Bible because I love those colors together. I think that is fabulous. I'm so in love with that. And so here we were playing with these little, and these were images actually I just found on Canva and then printed them so that I could, or then imported them into my Cricut software so I could just cut them. You could hand cut shapes like this, but that takes a long time. So we kind of used these guys and just saw, you know, what if we added, this was an old print, what if we added 2 or 3 different layers and didn't clean our plate in between? So you can see we've got really layering texture, really layering patterns, layered colors. So that was super, super fun. And I'm really excited to use those little embellishes that we made. That was a bonus feature. All right, and then we were like, okay, so what if we don't have our Crafters Workshop? What if we don't have a Cricut? What if I don't have a bush outside my house? So we decided, okay, let's try just cutting out our own. So these are just hand cut from some cardstock and then just hole punch to give a little bit of extra texture there. And then we were able to make this one, which actually I think might be my favorite, just because we had just done this print with the orange, and so there's a little bit left on there. So I've got the oranges and reds kind of adding that little pop and that contrast. And then when we were in between, of course, we used a paint, just like a little paint cap to have those where we took our color from our darker and pressed it into our lighter, so that really gave this kind of bubble under the sea, but with a little bit of hints of reds and orange. I think this one turned out fabulous. That is so fun. And we just did it by creating our own masks using just some cardstock. So nothing fancy. I can reuse these later if I want. I can cut them apart and make them smaller masks. And just because we had a little time, we took just some plain little circles and kind of used those to mask off some stuff. And we ended up with like this kind of intergalactic situation there. And then, like I said, we just played and saw what we could do. So that, for anyone who might be wondering, should I go back and watch from the beginning? This is what we made in our time together today. And so I hope you guys enjoyed it and it inspired you to go out there and either make your own or find some from the Crafters Workshop, or get out that die cut machine if you have a Big Shot or a Cricut or a Silhouette, and you can make your own masks and really make your own really just cool embellishments as kind of a, I don't even say afterthought because that's not the right word, but just a, you know, as a bonus. It's a bonus creation. So I think those will be super cool, and I'm actually super excited because I think this combo is going to look really cool in just the column of a journaling Bible, because the sizing is perfect and the colors are great. So thank you guys so much for joining me for the last little over an hour. I hope it inspired you to go out there and find some cool stuff and maybe redeem some of those prints that maybe aren't your favorite, or like we did today, start from scratch and just make some really cool and unique things just using masks. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'll post a picture, a few of my favorites in the group for you guys today, and I'll make sure to post that color wheel as well, so that we can, you guys can have a little bit visual of what we talked about earlier about trying not to make mud on your plate. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you guys in the group later today.